Okay, namaste to all of you. So, um, so today you can see, every time I change my background, today I've chosen a Himalayan background where a yogi is sitting and meditating. Right? What's going on? What happened?
We can hear you.
No, no, but this whole screen has changed to some. What is this? This was not intended to be like this.
I don't know.
Oh, no, no, I think Mary is trying to do something. It is. I'm able to see somebody sharing the screen. Who is that? Yeah, I think. Oh, I think she's trying to do something. Mary's trying to do something, right? Not a problem. Um, since you always keep talking about Himalayas and all the stuff, so today I thought I will have the background as a yogi meditating in Himalayas, and I don't know whether it's really a picture or a artificially generated video. I don't know that, but there are yogis like that. This is relevant because in the sutras, Patanjali sutras, which we are going to continue today, they're going to talk about what are the factors that can interfere with a good meditation, which results in a samadhi anubhava. Last time we touched upon samadhi anubhava, I talked about it. So, what are the factors which can interfere, and how do we manage it? Is what the next few sutras are going to talk about. And I thought that you cannot have a worse place than sitting in Himalayas without a proper dress, with so much of cold winds blowing and all the stuff. I don't think you can have a worse place than that. On the one hand, on the other hand, there is a situation which is far more difficult than sitting almost naked in Himalayas and meditating, and that is being in active life. What we call being in samsara. All of us are in active life. We have our bills to pay. We have mortgages to pay. Sometimes we get into debt. There's so many different things happening around us, and still we have to find out a way of being able to concentrate and then meditate and get to samadhi anubhava. Um, the reason I've used that background is to once again underline the fact that being this side of the pond, as they say, that's being part of the family life with so much of pressures and things like that. Many times we think that, oh my God, how lucky those people are sitting all alone, yogis in Himalayas, and they don't have any problem, etc. We may think they are great. Frankly speaking, what some of you, like Miral or Manjula or Mary, whatever you're doing, in spite of your family commitment, etc., if you're able to maintain a steady method, steady practice of yoga, meditation, and get into samadhi state, this is a better, frankly speaking, achievement in my view. The reason I state is not to belittle any yogis or whatever, to say that this is more common. Being part of life, being part of a samsara, as they call a regular life, is more common than being able to sit there in isolation. Like there are 7.5 billion people or 8 billion people in the world. If you go to Himalayas, you may probably see 10,000 people sitting like that. Therefore, I don't know the number, I'm just guessing. Any system which is applicable and which can give result only to a small section of society is called a cult. But yoga is not a cult. Yoga is universal. It is applicable, useful, and yields results to anybody in any stage of life, any walk of life, anywhere, anytime. So that's very, very important to have in mind. Therefore, um, Miral, you have a bookshelf as a background, as I see from here. In my mind, that is no different from the Himalayan mountain I see behind the yogi. Likewise, Manjula has got a desk full of nice Buddha and other photographs. It's no different. And I have no idea what Mary's background is. Probably she's sitting in a car. So, the most important idea in the game is to destroy, obliterate, remove, sublimate all ideas. It's very important. All the ideas, preconceived notions which we have in our mind has to be removed. That is the biggest problem we have, is that somehow we believe certain things and that comes in the way. It does not mean you should not follow a discipline. It does not mean that whatever the yoga books recommend you should not. I'm not saying any of those things. By doing those, recommendations are not going to help you unless we are able to empty our mind from all preconceived notions we have. Logically also it makes sense. It's pragmatic, practical, because we are not able to do many things, therefore it looks like an excuse. But logically also it makes sense. How? Because we all know in this whole universe, forget about our Earth, the entire Milky Way, our solar system itself is a small little dust. There are billions of universes like this, the scientists say. The size of the outer space, you cannot imagine. It's that big. And this universe has been around for years of years. You may have to readjust. Oh, earlier my view was better because your head is going down. Yeah. So this universe has been existing for billions of years, and it will exist for billions of years. And if the Indian thought process is correct, it is cyclical. That means this will be replaced by another universe. So-called destruction is nothing but transformation from this type of universe into another type of universe. That means this universe is going to exist forever. That is why in Indian system, the universe is considered to be not only anadi, it is also called nitya. Anadi means unoriginated. Nitya means eternal. The beauty is not only that universe is seen to be anadi and nitya, even jivas, which is our true identity, what we are, really speaking, are jivas, not the individual names which you have right now. Even jivas are anadi and nitya. Therefore, considering this scale of things, any idea you develop, any condition you develop is insignificant, right? In the larger tide of, you mentioned before we started this conversation, Miral, that you want to be like water. That's what you mentioned, right? It's a very deep concept, very deep concept. On the one hand, there's nothing colorless, odorless like water, pure water. What is the meaning of that? It means any attribute which you talk of any object is meaningless. You have to be colorless, odorless water. But it's not only for objects. Any ideas, any characterizations, any judgment you have about anything in the mind is also has to be dropped off if you want to be like water, colorless water. Another feature of water is that it takes the shape of the container in which you put. You put a rectangular cylindrical beaker, it looks like a cylinder. In a spherical beaker, it looks like a sphere. That means the form doesn't count. It can take any shape, any form. That is the deep meaning there. And it is very still, very quiet. If you don't touch water, it is very still. That is why when you sit in, for example, if you go to lakes and sit on the shores of lakes and meditate, it gives you tremendous intensity of meditation. Because the mind calms down when you look at the lake. Mind calms down when you close your eyes and the slow tides, so a small little rumbling which happens as the wind blows through. It's a soothing effect. It's called the placid lake as they call, right? So it can be very still. On the other hand, if water rushes through, nothing can stop it. It can break anything. Dams are broken. When this what do you call the tsunami comes, everything goes. That means if the same water can pick up for whatever reason an energy which can destroy everything. So much depth is there, so much of concepts are there in water. Another interesting about water, which some of us may not know, is that the sun actually came from water, believe it or not. When the interstellar space, when the universe was forming, when all the gases were combining and forming various things, etc., at one point in time, the huge sheet of water was there in the universe. And they all collapsed with each other, and that friction created firepower. And then it was so huge, it condensed together and became sun. That's how the sun came from water, by the way. And the most interesting thing for people like us who come from here is that this was foretold in Rig Veda itself. It talks about in Rig Veda, one of the most ancient literature in the world, one of the hymns, one of the slokas, say that, oh sun, you came from water. So if you want to be like a water, it is like you want to be the ultimate truth. So I really liked the way you started this conversation by saying, I want to be like water. So I leave it to you, Miral, to say a few things, and then we will go on to each and every person. Go ahead.
Myself? Or...
Yeah, yep.
Yes, it would be very nice. And I just would like to say something, Mr. Rao, that you're absolutely right that everywhere, no matter where you are, we can do meditation. But I think if someone is very serious about and would like to have the outcome of the Yoga Sutra, at the beginning, they have to go away from everything because they need to have a base, which I think very few people can establish. And without that base, and without that really serious practice, sitting in the cave for years, when someone gets very strong inside after doing that, and let go everything and understands the mind and controls the mind. I don't even know what to say about that because I am not even a novice. I'm just a very, very, very beginner. Seriously. So I think without that base, it's very difficult or almost impossible to come back to society and truly, truly let go everything and be very truthfully make a difference and be very, very helpful to as a teacher, like let's say as a yoga teacher. The yoga teacher, I look at Krishnamacharya, the way the venerable master, how he practices. To, to get that kind of an achievement, that doesn't come just for an everyday teaching and practice. That goes behind something which I don't really know. I would like to know, but right now I don't know. So, but you're right. Like people like the yoga master, the venerable master, came back and taught everybody, and I have such a great respect in my heart, towards people like that. And even you, look at that. You're teaching us people who are like, especially women. It's so hard to find for women a teacher, and you're willing to do that. And I'm so grateful for that because without these teachings and practice, it's very, very difficult to just do it on my own in the middle of New York City from the book because everything is an experience,
True.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's it.
yeah. I agree. I agree with what you're saying, but also I know you. I know that you know this, but still, I would like to repeat it every time. Um, every one of us have a destiny, which is a consequence of all the previous lives we have had. It was the destiny of Krishnamacharya to become a great yoga master and teach the world. That was his destiny. We need not have that destiny. We will not have that destiny. What is common between Krishnamacharya and us is the need as well as a desire to attain nirvana, moksha, or tranquil state of mind, whatever name you want to give that. That is common between Krishnamacharya and us. Therefore, that is the real purpose, frankly speaking. The real purpose of getting a birth is to attain that state for everybody. Therefore, it does not matter whether we become like Krishnamacharya or not, as long as we learn a little thing from people like Krishnamacharya and put in practice. That is very, very important point to remember, that our destiny need not be that. And one need not become a master who teaches everybody else to attain nirvana. Certain people are chosen to be masters like that. We are not there. You don't have to be there. That's very, very important. Why I'm saying this is that should not give us a feeling of, oh my God, I am not good enough. If you are admiring somebody for what they are doing as such, that's not a problem. But if that admiration starts leading you to feel that I am not good enough like him or her, that is a problem. That is what I want you not to do. The second aspect is I was really taken aback when you said this, that there aren't many teachers to women. I till that moment, I honestly telling, I never recognized you are women, honestly speaking. See, the way I looked at it, all of you, is that you want to learn something from me. I know something, I share with you. That's it. So,
Very good.
with,
Thank you so much.
no, the interest and commitment is the only thing I see. What did I say 15, 20 minutes back? Water takes any shape. The water has taken a man shape in me and a woman shape in you. But we know very well that's only a container, right? Just not see, if I really believe that the form is not the real me, why should I hold your form against you and say, oh, you have this form and therefore you can't be in my class? Why will I say that? I will not say that. But anyway, very nice of you to to have thanked me for that. But as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter, because I am not dealing with bodies. I'm dealing with mind, intellect, and the spirit, which is identical in me or you. Okay. So that's very, very nice of you to say that. Manjula, your turn.
Okay. Yeah, that was put very nicely, Paddy. I mean, yeah, we do agree that we are talking about mind here, and the way you expressed and explained it, it really makes sense. I think, yeah, any session like this, that is what we should look forward to. It's not like a human being. Of course, we have to interact, so we are all human beings. We are interacting, but at one point we have to realize it's the mind that is talking. So some form of mind, it could be in the form of water, whatever it has taken shape, that is what we should be addressing. And again, like regarding the place of meditation and things like that, yeah, it definitely takes a lot of effort. And because we see a lot of distraction in our daily life, I think there are a lot of objects, like you noticed my table and a lot of pictures. Yes, I think if we can get rid of these things first, I think we can go to the next level. And even for practice, like whatever the great gurus are doing, sitting at mountains, Himalayas, or anywhere, I think they have come out of such attachments to all the objects around them. So for us to get to that level, yes, it is a lot of effort. And that, I think, right now, I think we have at least started thinking towards that. So I would say, like, maybe it is still the baby steps that we are taking, and going forward, I'm looking forward to reaching to some level. Like, it's, if not, I may not be in the Himalayas doing what the great sages did, but somewhere, like, my mind will be set in such a way that I can think something like them. Yeah, that's what I feel like saying today.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is Mary able to say anything at all, or how is the situation?
Let me just see, I just got a text message, Mary. Uh, this is what she says, Mary. Mary, hi. Thank you, Mirel. Well spoken. Can you tell Mr. Rao that that I have many thoughts about this, and sorry I cannot talk, but I will write my reflections when I get home.
Okay, sure, sure. When is she getting home?
When are you getting home, Mary? If you can hear us, would you please text it for me? So we wait for probably very soon.
That's good because it's very important for her to get back home and then get rejoined. We should be able to see her and hear her because
yes.
yeah. See, that's what I like in all of you. All of you have different types of lives you are leading, but you're so committed to yoga and practice and reflecting on it, connecting with life and things like that. That's very, very helpful to all of us. So we will wait for Mary. As soon as she comes in, we'll give her priority.
She's going to get home at 6:30 p.m. tonight. So it's a little bit late when she gets home, but I'm sure that she's going to maybe perhaps send you some email, if you don't mind.
Oh, not at all. Not a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So shall we go to the sutras? So you're ready, Meral, to chant? Both of you ready to chant?
no. And sorry, I didn't prepare for chanting. That's Mary's
strength.
Yes.
So what do we do now?
Yeah, even I don't have anything to chant.
Okay.
Buy this book. This is you can buy this in Amazon.
Okay.
And it's a very, very nice, but maybe Master, if you can read Sanskrit, maybe you can just get the sutras itself.
Okay.
So maybe Master Rao can give you some recommendation.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you.
This is the, kind of like the Americans or something.
Okay, are you able to see the slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you read it? Is it big enough to read?
No, it is too tiny for me, at least, to read.
Okay, how do we? Is it becoming bigger?
No, it got smaller actually.
Yeah.
No?
No, it is still the same.
Okay. Last time, how were you able to read then?
Okay. Yeah, now I think
It's getting a little bit better now. No. Yes.
Make it bigger, let us see.
Okay.
No?
Yes. It got smaller again.
How is that? What's going on then? When we share, I thought it should become big screen and all the stuff. Oops. What do we do? It's gone, right?
Yes, it's gone.
Okay, so what we will do now then, let me try again. Let me open it again. In the meantime, if you want to continue to talk, you can continue to talk, Meera.
Is this chapter 119?
119. We said that we are going to start discussing 119 onwards. So, do you have a book, Manjula, or what?
No, I don't have any material with me.
So maybe if you can say it in Sanskrit, Master Rao.
Yeah, I will do that. Last to start, I will read it out and then we can discuss that. I make one more attempt to share.
This is very, very good. This is only in Sanskrit, this one.
Yes.
Please write it down. This is really inexpensive on Amazon. And this is the real original transformation into English and Sanskrit, of course, the original sutra.
Okay.
Okay. All right then. So let me try to share once again and see if it works this time or else I'll start reading. All right.
Okay.
Are you able to see?
Part of it, yes.
Now?
Now it's good. It's much better. Yes. Yes.
Are
Yeah.
you are you read? Okay, it's 1.9. Last time we talked about Samadhi.
Yes.
Then what happens if you're able to experience the Samadhi on a persistent manner? Because we know very well that the Samadhi anubhava comes to many of us, sometimes in a fleeting moment, sometimes for a longer moment, and it comes every day, sometimes it doesn't come every day. So these are all several type of things happen to us. So what happens at the end of our life? We have these experiences. What happens? That's what we're going to discuss. That is one thing. Then how do we sustain this? If we are going to be reborn with or without Samadhi, what happens? And how do we come to a stage where the birth itself stops? But for that, like we said, the Samadhi anubhava has to be sustained. Why are we not able to sustain? What are the problems, the impediment, the hurdles which happen due to which we are not able to sustain? These are all the topics which you're going to, concepts you're going to discuss. In 119, Bhava Pratyayo Videha Prakriti Layanam. Bhava Pratyayo Videha Prakriti Layanam. All right. What this means is that when the body goes, we have made some progress. We have not reached the ultimate goal, but we have made progress. So what happens to the benefit or the results, positive results of our efforts? That's what it does, discusses and tells you not to worry, because even when the body is gone, these latent impressions get dissolved into your true nature, and it is reborn. When you're reborn again, it comes back with that. If you remember, we said that in the beginning of today's conversation also, that we don't have to be like those yoga masters, because each one of our different destiny is the word I used. That means whatever has happened in the previous births of ours, those consequences become a tendency, and those tendencies are automatically available in the current birth. That's what it means as videha, that means when the body is gone, prakriti, that means our nature, layana means it gets, laya means merging, harmony, etc. So that gets into our nature, and then it goes to bhava pratyayo. That means in the reborn, all these impressions, all these tendencies, all of them come together to help us forward. That is the assurance which is given here. Do you have any ideas about this? Any thought process about it, both of you? Yes.
So I think, just to read this, I think that actually if someone would get to a point when they can get to samadhi, it would be very healing for the body and mind, because all the, I would assume, I mean, I don't know, I never even got close to samadhi, so I really don't know, but I'm just reading this. I would imagine that this state of samadhi actually very healing, because it kind of would rejuvenate all the previous experiences, or maybe even, I wouldn't say get rid of them, but like have a this different kind of perspective or dimension with that. What do you think, Mr. Rao?
Absolutely. See, Samadhi, I don't know whether you guys have had a taste of the Samadhi Anubhava. It is a phenomenal experience. Like you rightly said, every small little Samadhi Anubhava you tend to have will erase a little bit of your tendencies and vasana, which tug you back into a, into a very negative life. After all, we are all, like all of you constantly keep saying, we are not there yet is the statement which you keep making, which is very true. We are not there because all our tendencies, all our likes and dislikes keep putting us back. Every time you have a samadhi anubhava, it tends to burn a little bit of that. Not too much, but a little bit of that. That is why our struggle is, in spite of being committed to learning yoga, dhyana, in spite of practicing for years and years together, somehow we feel that we are not there yet because of this reason. At the same time, we also know, looking back, the path which we have crossed in all these years, we know very well that those tendencies, those desires, those temptations, etc., likes and dislikes, which gave so much, it had so much impact on us 10 years back, 20 years back, no longer, right? We feel that, okay, there's something is happening in us. It doesn't matter when we are much younger, when we are in 20s, it was what was very important for us to look nice. It was very important for us to be seen as successful. It was very important in social circle, in friend circle, that people must respect us, give us importance, talk to us. In any union, you go for a social party, we need to be the center of attraction. These are all the things we had in 20s, but no longer I mean, I don't say we don't care. It no longer affects us. If somebody is looking at us, it's fine. Not looking at us is also fine. Talking to us is fine. Not talking is also fine. If you are not given importance in a family function, friends function, that's also fine. If you are not invited, also that's fine. That's the progress we have made. And in fact, sometimes I'm sure all of you would agree with me. Sometimes we feel it's so nice to be alone. You feel that wow, this is the best. Why am I even stepping out to meet anybody? That may be because of an aversion of an interaction, then it is wrong. If it is not due to an aversion of interaction, but because of the fact that we know that we are reasonably self-sufficient, our peace, our joy, our bliss is not really dependent on anything else or anybody else. So I'm fine, comfortable here. So we are not anti-people, but we are not bound to people. That's why somebody said, I think Buddhist or Zen master once said that it is not that you are free from desires. It is that desires no longer control you. It is not that you don't want others. It is that others no longer control your happiness. So definitely this this stage will happen to everybody. I think I would encourage all of you to start talking about whether it's really happened or not, whether you recognize or not, what happens in your respective meditation. Because when we say videha prakriti layanam, which means after the body is gone, these tendencies merge into your nature and goes to the next incarnation, as it were. So I would like you to reflect upon it and say what happens. All of you meditate. What happens in your meditation? Can you share those things? Kavita, welcome to this. You know.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. So would you like to? I mean, all of you share a couple of minutes on how you have you had this deep meditation and what happens at the time?
Yeah, I can go, Patty.
Please, please.
Yeah, actually, yeah, meditation, it calms me down. Actually, like, yeah, I mean, we go through a lot of stress on a daily basis. But once I decide that I need to meditate and sit there, it could be 10 minutes or even like a longer period of time. Even that 10 minutes makes a big difference. Forget about if I sit there for half an hour, 1 hour, the effect is much more, but definitely it calms my mind and all those thoughts diminishes. So whatever thoughts were going on, it was like clashing each other, I mean, like how stressful it gets when you are having multiple thoughts. So those things, it kind of streamlines, I would say. It would streamline, and it calms me down. And what happens is like, I feel like, okay, I no longer care for those thoughts. And same thing like when you are saying like, when you are in touch with people, the same feeling I get, like, okay, if for whatever reason, these are the things I don't purposefully ignore, or I don't say I don't want these objects or people around me. But if I don't have those, I can live without those. It can be in the form of a material thing, or it could be in the form of a human being. So that self-sufficient term you used, that's very perfect actually. That is how I feel. Even if I don't have XYZ in my life, it can be in any form. I feel like, yeah, I can be self-sufficient and handle things. So I think meditation leads you to think towards that. So once my mind is calm, I can think through that point and say, okay, this is what I want and this is where I want to be. That clarity is what I get. Yeah,
Excellent.
that's all I have to say.
Excellent. Mira?
Um, One time I went to Disney World, and I took, there are different kind of things you can do in Disney World, and I took a ride, which is like a science fiction ride, and it takes you, you sit in a small little, car by yourself, and at one point, a door opens, and it goes through different kind of, space things. And one time it goes out, a door opens, and then it goes out visually. It looks like there is nothing around, just the stars, and I'm in the air, and nothing below me, nothing anywhere. And suddenly I had this feeling. I used to have this in my childhood. It came back, and it came from the heart, that I know this one, and like there is not, there is nothing, like in the universe, and how small we are, and it was a very extremely relaxing feeling. I can't even put it into words, and the frightening feeling in the same time. Um, but I knew it, I understood then that everyone has this. It comes from the heart, and it is in the heart. And I think it's for everybody, it's in the heart. But we just don't know how to do these things and how to practice these things, because somehow it has to happen or has to be accessed. And I do meditation practice. But right now, I'm at the very beginning because I still didn't reach the Stira Sukhamasana, meaning after like a half an hour, I start to feel really uncomfortable with my legs. So if I sit in full lotus that's not good. Half lotus I can take, for a half an hour. So right now, I don't have very big meditation goals. Right now, my goal is I get up 6 o'clock every morning now and practice an hour and a half just sitting on the floor and try to, do this kind of movements and open up my hip joint and make myself comfortable, because I still didn't get level 1. And I can just sit very comfortably in lotus for a long period and can forget about my body.
Yeah. I think good points you mentioned, but important once again that not setting any specific time limit is very, very important. Because understand one thing, it is an idea. What is an idea? The idea that you are not the form, you are of quote unquote, you are of the spirit. It's just an idea. That ideas transcend the what is called the space-time definitions. The ideas do not have any length, width, and breadth. It doesn't have a weight. It doesn't have a time. It is infinite. Time-wise, it's eternal. That is how the ideas are defined. When you are just an idea, what difference does it make that the body is able to sit for 15 minutes or 1 hour or 2 hours? You are right. I understand you are a very strict yoga teacher, and therefore you always mention discipline. I agree from the point of view of discipline that yes, being able to sit in a sukhasana or a ardha padmasana or a full padmasana or a vajrasana or whatever asana is comfortable to you for a long period of time is good. But remember one thing, there are techniques. Hatha Yoga Pradipika mentions, and all of you may have read it, that you reach a mental state where you are not even sitting, you're talking, you're engaging in real activity, etc. But your mind is always fixed on the Brahman or the truth concept. Externally pretty active, but internally always meditating. Right? That is the ultimate form of meditation. Therefore, it is called the Sambhavi Mudra. If you want, you can read about it. I'm sure Patanjali also will mention, or else Hatha Yoga Pratipika will define what a Sambhavi Mudra is. Therefore, that's what, for example, we see that people, so many sadhus and yogis who are very advanced in meditation, they are actively engaged in life. They run ashrams, they go and meet people, they give talk, etc. Then you start wondering, oh my God, these people are active with everybody from 4 a.m. in the morning till 11 o'clock in the night. When are they going to meditate? When will they try to meditate? Or they don't meditate at all? They do. Many times as they are talking to you, their mind is there. So I'm saying this to put things in a perspective and also give a hope and assurance that we should not unnecessarily trouble ourselves. But I completely agree with you that this is what Yoga Sutra is going to talk now in the next few sutras, that we need to follow some discipline before we get there. But I would very much encourage all of you to keep trying to meditate as often as possible. At least once a day, try to meditate 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever is possible. Keep doing. Kavita, do you want to say anything?
Meditation. I had gone to a big yoga classes in Mumbai in I'll tell you in 90s. So I started to do teachers
Can you,
training course to.
sorry, Kavita, can you readjust the camera because your face is getting cut off? Yeah, better, yeah.
Yeah. So this is before, like I'll tell you, in 91 or something. So I was wanted to become a yoga teacher. I was going for yoga training teacher center also. And meditations, what I wanted to know really, and there are many different style of doing meditation. Like even if you're standing, meditation is possible if you're standing in a local train or something, or if you're in a car or driving. Like they basically were teaching that meditation is focus, like like how you also said once, like your mind, your heart, and your words, all three going together. It's a big achievement in one's life. That shows that you are able to control many things, like what is needed. A positive attitude comes from there. And meditation means dhyana means like your focus, how far you can focus and hold the things, like positive things, and that's how you get positive energy in you. And that's how you can understand the whole universe, like to get it, what are the waves, sounds, and whatever the external things are there apart from earth or holding the universe, you can feel it. So, but apart from that, slowly, like not only sitting, like in Padmasana and getting meditation, but lately, slowly to get that focus, because too much things goes in the mind all the time. For me, I found slowly doing meditation by doing japa, like how you do that God's name while you're praying or something. So that helped me really to get more focused, and taking God's name, like in one japa of mala, it is 108, right? So getting that is putting me more into practice of leading towards meditation to control myself and focus into one thing, like a point. So that is helping me more in day to day life, like, to get, because sometimes you get haywire, you cannot focus, because there are too many things in the mind jumping, like, you have to do this, that. So yeah, doing japa is helping me as a different style of, like a one more style of meditation.
Absolutely. In fact, the very purpose of japa is precisely that. In fact, if um, if you take japa, generally the recommendation is, I think this is something which Miral will like because this is a discipline, is that you do a sankalpa or a determination that you will do it 108 times or 1008 times. You must sankalpa and stick to it.
Okay.
Yeah. What happens is it brings mental discipline that you are at it. Until I whatever I vow to do, I will do. That trains the mind for it. Number one, and number many times what happens is without sankalpa and japamala, what happens is you say I can always do that, but mind wanders. Very
Yes.
soon you will find that you are not doing 108. In 74 itself, you lost your mind. So from that point of view, having a rosary or a japamala to count the number
Yeah.
of times is very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Interesting that all of you have said this because the next sutra is precisely about that. If, if we mention that all the tendencies collect together, absorb in the nature and goes in the next incarnate, what we told that. But for those who are very serious in trying to gain progress towards self-realization, what are the methods, what are required, what are the skills required? That's what it talks about. Shraddha, virya, smriti, samadhi, prajnana, purvaka itaresham. That means for those who are not merely born again and again, who are trying to achieve this self-realization, the shraddha is a dedication, commitment. It's very important. We do not have a commitment. We sometimes we do, sometimes we don't do it. So that's why I told that even if you want to do a japa, you must have a sankalpa, a determination. That is shraddha. You need to have a shraddha, determination about it. You must have virya. You must have the energy, intensity. If our body is very weak, right, for whatever reason, then there is no way we are going to be able to follow any discipline. That is where yoga becomes very, very helpful. All the asanas, Padmasana, Siddhasana, Vajrasana, whatever asana you like to have, or the Padmasana, these are all helpful because it keeps the backbone vertical. Keeping the backbone vertical, not curved, bent forward, is extremely important in this game. And if you want to have a backbone vertical, the base has to be horizontal flat. The base is all normally given by our thighs, right? That's what gives the base. So when you lock your thighs on a Siddhasana, Padmasana, Ardha Padmasana, or even Vajrasana for that matter, it gives a stable platform on which you can keep your backbone vertical. But then you can only do this for a long period of time only when the body is healthy, right? And it has the energy. That is why virya becomes very, very important. Smriti is important because you must be, smriti generally means recollection, memory. Generally it means. Sometimes in yoga circles they call it as a mindfulness. Some people translate it as a mindfulness, etc. Smriti is important. Why is it important? Because this is what I would like to explain. Even if you take the general meaning that smriti means recollection or memory, I would explain it this way. This is my explanation, is that when would you repeat something? One tends to repeat something when in the previous occasion there have been very nice experience. You had a taste of something wonderful. And if you are able to recall that you had a wonderful experience, the taste of that is wonderful, only then you want to do it again. On the other hand, if you had a negative experience, you would rather avoid it. Therefore, this smriti, being able to recollect a nice experience. For example, all of you have said that during meditation, whichever form you're able to do, whatever is the duration, whatever is the intensity, you are able to recollect with some degree of fondness. That was so nice. Mind calmed down, all the disturbances went away, and therefore I like to do it. Therefore, that becomes very, very important. Samadhi. Samadhi is important because samadhi is the single point concentration where everything collapses. To explain samadhi in another way, I will put it this way. What is happening now or any other time? We see a lot of things outside. We hear a lot of sounds from outside. And we mind goes around thinking. Our intellect keeps on analyzing all kind of things. So in other words, all our senses are hyperactive. What does this mean? It means our mind and brain is bombarded with all kind of information signals. What did we say our true nature as? Our true nature is like a still water, that of peace, bliss. But when you take a lot of pebbles and start throwing in a still water, you only see ripples. The water is no longer stays calm. All the signals which come from outside, because we hear a lot of things, see a lot of things, think a lot of things, analyze mentally a lot of things, etc., or even touch a lot of things, all these signals are like hundreds of pebbles which are constantly thrown on a very still, calm water, which is our true identity. That is why all these ripples are there. Then if that is the case, how do we make the water still again? Only by eliminating ripples. The ripples come from hundreds of pebbles which come unheated. That means the only way you can bring back the water to the calm state is eliminate or prevent or reduce the number of pebbles we throw into the lake. Same example is, unless you eliminate them or reduce the number of thoughts, images, information which hits, mind cannot be calm. The technique of samadhi is precisely that. Withdrawing everything, all our senses from external. They do remain. External world doesn't vanish. If there is a motorbike or a car going, it's still there. If there is a mixer making a lot of noise in the kitchen, it's still making. If people are there chatting, they're still there. But you disconnected your senses from all of them so that you don't see it even when you see it. You don't hear it even when you hear it. You don't feel it even when it is touched. You don't wander even if the mind is wandering. Remember, mind's nature is to wander, but you won't wander. So that is the power, that is the technique of samadhi, right? Then prajna, the wisdom. That wisdom is necessary because it is the whole exercise is like a bootstrapping, like what they call, right? You lift yourself by pulling your own your own bootstraps. You try to pull yourself up, as they say. That's the technique. Mind is the problem, but mind is also the solution. Intellect is the problem. Intellect is the solution because there's nothing else which can solve the problem. Whatever we have, using what we have, only we should be able to solve the problem, which, by the way, is caused by the very same things. So therefore, that is the wisdom, the ability to understand, recall, build a discipline, and then focus. That is what it is. These are the techniques which is going to really help those people who are able to ensure that when the Videha Prakriti Layanam happens, what you're sending back are signals, capabilities, skills which have taken you forward at least by one more foot, one more inch at least, right? Therefore, Thivra, next sloka says, Thivra Samveganam Asannaha. That means when you have Thivra, if you are very, very highly intense in determination, when your practice is very intense, when the discipline is very much there, right? It is not like a physical approach, but absolute discipline, you do it, then the realization is very near. That is the assurance it gives you. Now, let me pause. Yes, yes, Meryl.
I just would like to say something that the reason why I revere so deeply the Yoga Sutras, because if you look at the previous sutra, Mr. Rao and everyone else, in the 20, it starts with Shraddha, right? Faith. I put here next to it, even that won't stop me.
What is it?
Even that won't stop me, will not stop me.
Okay.
So, so what I'm just, even though we shouldn't be so extreme, but at some level, we have to be extreme if you really want to have results. And then I find that very interesting that this is the first thing what it teaches us, the faith. And then the sutra, the 21, what you just talked about, it really it's just that this tipra, what you just say, it's almost like the same thing, right, Mr. Rao? Or am I mistaking it? It's almost the same.
Same as what?
As this kind of confidence and belief, shraddha.
Oh yeah, I mean, what happens is the beauty of that is this faith. We all know very well. If you look at Shraddha, Shraddha is a little more than faith. I would say it's a conviction. I would say not just a faith, because sometimes faith can be based on somebody is telling you because you like the person, you trust the person. But here, Shraddha is very much internal. You need to be convinced about it. That is a faith which comes out of a conviction. That's called Shraddha. But that Shraddha is not possible, and like you rightly pointed out, unless you have a Tivra intensity of your approach, intensity of your purpose, intensity of your practice, intensity of your discipline. Unless you have these intensities, Shraddha will not come. Because it's like this, it's one helps other. You are absolutely right. Because you're convinced, Tivra happens automatically. See, nobody needs to be told to do something if they are convinced themselves. They do it automatically. Naturally, you're impelled to do it because you're convinced. That is why whenever we try to make a group or individual do something different, first we try to create a conviction in the concept. We struggle a lot, we talk a lot, we spend a lot of time so that people get, because ultimate analysis, people can teach you a lot of stuff, but then they'll go away. Then it's entirely up to you to really do it. That ability to follow through correctly and in a disciplined way comes from a conviction, and that comes from a tivra. Tivra adds to shraddha, shraddha adds to tivra. They help each other. You're absolutely right in pointing out. Excellent.
That's why I get up 6 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Rao.
Correct. Very correct. Very correct. Anybody else has any comment? At the same time, the question arises, how can everybody have the same degree of intensity? Is a question. That is where the answer lies in the next sutra. Mrudu, madhyadi, matravat, tato api viseshaha. That means there will be a group of people who have only a mild intensity. There will be a group of people who have a moderate intensity. Some people will have absolutely high degree of intensity. It will be there. It recognizes that people will have different levels. For just to help us understand, they are giving three kinds of things. It's a very highly intense, moderately intense, low intensity, just to help us understand. Yeah, but that kind of tells you that um, the intensity varies. But then there is, in my view, there is a hidden message in this, which I will come a little later, because it seeks us a next question then. If people have different grades of intensity, right? Somebody's got only mridu intensity, mild intensity, or madhyama, moderate intensity. Will they get the same level as the highly intense people? I think that question cannot be, in my view, directly answered. That is where the next things comes. Because in our observation is that we find there are people who are highly intense practice, but somehow people who don't seem to have that kind of intensity seem to have that realization, the calmness, the steadiness. Oh, how is it possible? Yeah, it's correlated but not causated is something like that. We get a feeling. Do you agree with me, all of you? Yeah. How is it possible? I think, in my view, that is why the next very quickly Patanjali answers Ishwara Pranidhanatve Pranidhanatva. That means by the grace of God or Ishwara also, or by um, the focus on the Ishvara Tattva also, right? That means the X factor is there. If people with moderate intensity or even a soft intensity, mridu intensity also, are able to gain results as or sometimes even better than those with very heavy intensity, how is it possible? There must be some other reason. I think that's what is being answered by saying that when you have Ishvara Pranidhana, that is when you have a very high degree of devotion or commitment or focus on the Ishvara Tattva, then there seems to be a grace, it's implied, though the word is not there, it's implied. There seems to be a grace from Ishvara which is working here. Is there? Yes, yes, Meera.
So in the yoga school, we learned that when we practice, ideally, we have to do it as an offering, our practice. And everything what we do, it has to be an offering, the practice. And also when we teach, it has to be an offering to a higher power. So so that's what I wanted to say.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. Any comment from Manjula or Kavita? Okay. So I mean, but at the same time, the question then is, who is this Ishvara? Because um, it's is it a God the way theology talks about? There are several types of religions in the world. It talks about God, etc. They also use the word Ishvara, etc. Is it the same as that? We'll have to. We don't want to go there at this juncture. Let's hear who is that Ishvara, which Patanjali is talking about. Um, you said we are going to make an offering to whatever we do to Ishvara. Miral mentioned all that. But who is that Ishvara? That is what is being discussed next, because it has to be answered. We say that people, independent of moderate, soft, and high intensity approach, if they are able to achieve results, then there seems to be some other factor, Ishvara, which you mentioned. In which case, who is that Ishvara? Klesha, karma, vipakshayayar, aparamrita, purusha, visesha, Ishvara. The definition comes here. Who is that Ishvara is the one person, the entity which has got Visesha. These attributes or characteristics called Ishvara. That's why it says Visesha Ishvara. The entity which has got these special characteristics is called Ishvara. That is, the Purusha with Visesha is called the Ishvara. What is that Visesha? Should be free from klesha. There are several negative tendencies which affect the mind, the human beings, or any entity with mind and intellect. That is called the kleshas. There are, yoga talks about different types of kleshas. For example, kama, krodha, moha, mada, matsarya. These are called pancha kleshas. Some people give more, some people less. Generally, these are characterized as pancha kleshas. What is this? Kama is a desire. Desire for material as well as non-material things. Going after them, hankering after them. That is called the kama. Right? Then karma, that is very interesting. Even karma is sometimes considered, karma is activity, right? If you're very much attached to a specific activity, you're bound by an activity, that is, yeah, that is a problem. Yeah. Then the next one, any comment on this?
So then it means that even when we practice, like let's say yoga, we shouldn't practice, is that what it is? Shouldn't practice too much, too intense or too low. Is that what it means? Activity?
No. I think the idea is that you should not be bound to an activity. In other
Oh,
words, we recognize that yoga is a means of attaining good health, good immune system, being able to keep our body fit, keep the backbone vertical, so that we are able to attain dhyana and samadhi. But developing an attitude or a mindset which thinks yoga is an end by itself, that becomes a problem. It's a means for something else. So your commitment to yoga has to be to the extent that it is a means to something else. Your commitment to dhyana is also a karma. So your commitment to dhyana as a means, but not an end by itself, is very, very important. Likewise, not necessarily yoga and dhyana, any other quote unquote activities we do, which we have to do every day. We have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to earn our money. So many things we have. There are karmas. Recognizing the place, the rightful place of these activities, the purpose for which these activities have to be done, and recognizing that that's only a means is very important. That is what it means by being independent of these activities. Obviously, these activities are required, but you should not be bound by them. Yeah. Any other question? Any other question on this? In other words, if you are able to find a entity. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The entity is free from all of these kleshas, right?
Correct. Klesha as well as karma and vipakashaya. That means the understanding that these things are the cause and effect, and therefore it has to be done. In other words, I would put it this way. If you remember, I keep on harping on the same thing. All the mental models, all the ideas, preconceived notions which you've developed have to be dropped. If I have to say, talk about online summary or a very short summary for that's what I would say.
So then, Mr. Rao, we could, like theoretically, or if someone is such a high level practitioner, we could become every one of us could be Ishwara.
I'm very glad you're coming there. That is the point. The Ishvara Tattva here is almost assuring that any person who excels, who is able to break all those things, could be the Ishvara. Yes. In fact, that is why in traditional Indian circles, this yoga system is, at least some people, some orthodox people, treat it as a agnostic system.
What does that mean, Mr. Rao?
Oh, okay, our agnosticism. For example, if you believe the systems which believe in a formal definition of a God as the creator of this universe, as a sustainer of this universe, and as a person who provides a dissolution of the universe, they are all called theistic systems. But there are systems which are atheistic, which say there's no God. Everything is an accident. Things happen automatically, things happen, and therefore there's no one, you don't have to pray, nothing. They are all atheistic systems. Agnostic systems are the one which is neither accept God as a creator, sustainer, and destroyer of the universe, nor do they deny it. It kind of says that either we don't know or we don't care. In the system which we are building, um, that kind of a God is not required. They independent of that concept, they build a system. How do we do that? How do you achieve ethics? How do you achieve morals? How do you live good life? They do it without positioning any God like that. They are called agnostic system. So very traditional Orthodox Indian Orthodox people will always call this yoga as oh, what happened? Oh, who is that?
Maybe.
Ah, nice to see you, Mary. You're back. Very good. Good to see you. We can't hear you though.
We cannot hear you, Mary. She probably has a bad connection, but she can hear us. She told me.
No, she's muted. She's muted.
Yes.
Ah, now it's not muted. Now we can talk.
No, we cannot hear you.
Okay. All right. Not a problem. So that's why in traditional Orthodox Indian circles, they would call some of these systems as agnostic because they do not, because like you rightly said, if you can find a person who is devoid of this karma, klesha, and all those stuff, would that person be an Ishwara? Probably yes. That is why even in theistic circles in India, people evolve. Some it's one point of view, not every point of view. One point of view is that people evolve. Anybody can evolve into position of being an Ishwara. Because Ishwara is a tattva or a concept and not a role. They make a distinction that God is a role, padavi, as they call in Sanskrit. On the other hand, here the Ishvara is a tattva, right? Okay, Mary, we thought that we will give you, as soon as you join in, we will give you the mic to share your thought you've been hearing. So how do we do that now?
Yeah, you're muted, Mary. We can see that you are muted. You unmute yourself. You cannot? Oh. Cannot hear you.
Why don't you switch off and log out and log in again? Maybe it might work. Okay. Yeah, but you're right. That is why Mary's question, rather Mira's question, whether can anybody be Ishvara, is very rapidly answered in the next one. If you look next next sutra, Tatra Iratashayam Sarvagya Bijam. That means if that entity called Ishvara, right, that must be incomparable wisdom or knowledge, right? Sarvagya Bijam. That means knowing everything, right? All potential knowledge capabilities it must have. And it must be Niratashayam. That means incomparable, infinite. In other words, if theoretically your argument is correct that any one person who is able to have all other attributes could be Ishvara, but Patanjali rushes to add that it is not only a negative description of what that person should not have. You should not have karma, you should not have krodha, moha, mada. It's not only that, you should also have a positive attribute called infinite, incomparable knowledge should be resident as a bijam, it is a seed of the incomparable. That means infinite knowledge is originated from there. It not only says that it should be there, Sarvagya is not the only word it uses Sarvagya Bijam. Means infinite knowledge must originate from there. If you have that kind of a source, then that person could be Ishvara. Mary, do you want to give a try again? I mean, unmute and try again. Oh. I think you remember the other day Kavita had the same problem. I think she's got. Okay. All right. Today you got to listen. You were destined to listen only today. Okay. All right. Did you cough now?
Yeah.
We can hear you now. No. All right. So this is how an Ishvara is explained. So you must have the source of infinite knowledge. That is why, again, it reinforces this message by saying the next sutra, Sa Purveshamapi Guru Kalena. That means, therefore, right? That is why. Purvesham means that person is considered to be the original. Purvesham api Guru Kalena Anavachedat. Therefore, that because the infinite wisdom and knowledge originated from that as a seed, right? That is the seed of all knowledge. And therefore, that Ishvara is considered to be the original Guru. I mean, there it slightly tends to move towards a personified God. For example, in yoga circles, um, Shiva, right? In the form of what is called Pashupati, is a form of Shiva. Shiva appears in several forms. Pashupati is a form. The Pashupati is supposedly the original guru who taught yoga. Why is called Pashupati? Pashu means animals. Pashupati means lord of animals. Why is he called Pashupati? Because if you look at all the yoga postures, each posture reflects one particular animal. So Pashupati Shiva is considered to be the very first guru of yoga practice. So slowly Patanjali tends to point out, though you look at this, that's why Orthodox people in Indian theistic Orthodox people do not accept it as a theistic philosophy, because dancing around all these concepts but never calls him as a god. Right? He defines the original idea entity called Ishvara, which is free from all the kleshas, which is not bound by any activity, which is not bound by the cause and effect principle, but which is a source seed of all infinite knowledge in the universe. That Ishvara is the original Guru. Then the question is, how do I find that Ishvara? If you talk vaguely like this, where would I find that Ishvara? Plus, yes.
So sorry, and I apologize to interrupt. You know, Master Rao, I was just thinking with the 25th sutra, and now that you're talking about the 26th sutra, that it is so interesting that why is that we do not believe ourselves like we are Ishvara or we are Rama or Ramayana. Why is that we put ourselves down so much and we don't believe in that we are and we can be and we can develop that?
Okay.
I think during the day we're thinking about so much silly things, but when someone, for example, practice, why can't I imagine that I hold a sun or something I hold heavy in my hands and I just make it heavy or things like that? And why is that we don't believe in that we can be one of these things? And sometimes I used to watch, there is a story for Chinese people about, it's called Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. And the Monkey King, I was really impressed by that, went down to Yama, to the underworld. And the Monkey King just went and crossed himself out and all the monkeys, and he defined Yama and went against Yama and said, I'm immortal, and made all the monkeys immortal, and was not afraid of Yama or whatever they were threatening him. He just was laughing and crossed himself out and made himself immortal and all the other monkeys. And sometimes I think that during the day, when we think so little about ourselves and we put ourselves down and we just don't believe in that we can be like this, what this book is talking about. We can just, we are somehow, we have something special inside. Don't you think so?
Yeah. That's why people make a slight distinction, which is particularly, I mean, when we, in other sessions, we talk about Advaita and all the stuff. In Advaita point of view, that's what they mention, that what is the distinction which they want to make is, you mentioned Rama and Shiva and so many things you mentioned. If you position them, I mean, it's all positioning. We only define that, right? If we define Rama or Ishwara or Shiva or anybody for that matter as the creator, sustainer of the universe, etc., generally our understanding is that we are not able to create a universe.
That's true.
We don't even have a control. For example, when we go to sleep, we don't have a control when we're waking up. We don't even know whether we will wake up alive. We don't know that. In other words, we have no control on ensuring that so-called life sustains in this body, depending on, I mean, just in our whims and fancies. It's not like that. We seem to be powerless. How long this life will be in this body or not, we don't know. There are several things we are not able to control. In which case, what is the point in extrapolating this thing and say we are like Ishwara or whatever Ishwara and I are same? What is the point in arguing? That is one point of view. Logically, they argue that. But in Advaita kind of philosophies, what they answer is this. You are not thinking clearly when you say that I'm not able to create this universe, because your understanding of creating the universe means all the sun and moon, stars, planet. That's what your understanding is. They say no. They argue, in my view, rightly, every one of us creating our own universe, mental universe. For example, I have no idea, 100%, I'm not sure who Miral is. I don't know. I only know certain ideas I formed based on our interactions. Based on that, I form a mental model, image of Miral is. So Miral is a very disciplined yoga practitioner, who's almost like a saint, who's given up life.
Don't say that, Mr. Rao, please. I really don't.
No, perhaps that's that's precisely what I'm trying to say. We have no idea what your life is and what your entire life. We don't know that, but we formed an image like that. So every time the name Miral comes, this is what we think. Oh, see, look at her. She sacrificed her entire life for this. Well, who really you are, we don't know, but this is our image. Likewise, whenever we see think of Mary, we think, look at her with big family, with 5 children. Look at what she's doing. What a dedication, what a shraddha, right? Likewise for Kavita, we know her life is. I don't even know how she's finding time to sit in front of us. Oh my God, what a dedication she's got. Likewise for Manjula also, we think, look at her. So, in other words, in my mind, I have formed my own image, description of who Mary is, who Miral is, Kavita is, Manjula is, and I live with that. I do not live with the real Mary, real Manjula, real Kavita, or Miral. No. That means for each and every person I interact with, I have my own imagination about them. And my way of interacting with you, when you really see face to face, the respect or the ridicule or disrespect or the anger or the love or whatever I show to you when I come to face to face is not dependent on who you really are. It is dependent on what I think in my head you are. Therefore, the Advaitis argue, Actually, everybody is creating their own universe.
Yes. Yes.
So how do you say that they don't create? They do. They may not create the planets, but that's not what we're talking about, isn't it? Therefore, the argument gets finer and finer when you go there. Therefore, they argue. But for everybody to accept it, the Advaitins come and tell us, well, if you have a problem in accepting that I am Ishwara, let us put it this way. The essence, I am Rama, Krishna, or whatever, or Shiva, or whatever, the essence which drives Rama, or Krishna, or Shiva, or somebody, and the essence which drives you both are same. As a persona, as a defined personality, you may not be able to do everything which Rama, Krishna, Shiva, whatever they are doing, but in essence, you're doing what they're doing. So they try to create a kind of a compromise there.
Mr. Rao, I would like to say that I don't say that we are all Ishvara. We could be, or we could become. It's a big difference. We could become Ishvara, or each and every one of us. I really believe in it. It's just a mental blockage what we have, and I don't know what else. I'm going to learn it through the sutras.
Correct. Exactly. Correct. In fact, in another theory called Dvaita theory, that's what they say. They say that all those things, leaving aside an entity called Vishnu Tattva, which is the ultimate principle, every other God personality which you talk about, they say they are nothing but padavis or roles. Each of them have got job description. So each and every jiva, each one of us that is, have opportunity. Whether we have the ability or not, we don't know, but we have the opportunity to achieve those skills and grow. That means they say we evolve into an ordinary quasi-gods, demigods, as they call devas, devatas, and then somebody can become a Brahma, somebody can become a Rudra. So by constant effort, you evolve. Accepting, they say, you can never become a Vishnu. Other than becoming a Vishnu, everything else is considered to be just a role which you play. And each role has got a job description and skill required. You achieve the skill by your intensity of your yoga, dhyana, good conduct, good merit, good ethics. You evolve and evolve. And they go into very complex, I mean, they very, very detailed, they explain. For, for people like us, there is this world. And for good devas, demigods, there is a devaloka. And for something else, another world. So they create word after word where you evolve. Then you become a Brahma who is the originator of the whole universe. And then you become Prakriti or Lakshmi. And that's all. And beyond that, there is a Vishnu Tattva which nobody can become because it's infinite. Everything else is finite. That's another point of view. But the point to note here is, like I said, one of the conditions is you have to be devoid, disconnected from karma, krodha, klesha, all those kleshas, as well as this active. Therefore, trying to become, I want to be like a Brahma becomes a desire. It's a karma. We should not. You may end up as a Brahma over a period of time, thousands, millions of billions of years later, but that should be a natural consequence of your merits. That you, if you desire to become a Brahma, then you're violating the principle of klesha. Then you can never become Brahma. You can never become Ishvara because you have a desire to become Brahma. Right? So it's a little complicated, but the way they try to say is because what's happening now is if you ask a questions where what are all these gods, who are all these gods, etc., they try to give an answer. What is the Ishvara Tattva? They try to give an answer. Who is that Ishvara? They try to give an answer saying that that entity which is not, which is devoid of all these kleshas, which is not bound by cause and effect, which is the repository of the knowledge, not only a repository of the knowledge, but the original seed from which the all knowledge came through, that is Ishvara. So we are trying to combine all of them, trying to analyze. Yeah? And then if it is so complicated, is there a way to know this Ishvara? Then the answer is Tasya Vachakaha Pranavaha. That means that Ishvara Tattva is represented by Pranava, which is the Om sound. All of you would have heard about Om.
Wow.
That is the represented symbol, representation of that Ishvara Tattva. That Om principle is devoid of all kleshas. It is not impacted by cause and effect model, which transcends everything, which is the original seed from which all knowledge originated. Tasya vachakaha pranavaha. That is where it leads you into Ishvara Tattva. Then, how do you?
I am just so moved. This is so incredible that I can study this. I'm just sitting here and I have to pinch myself that I study such an incredible thing.
It's all your karma. Yeah. And how does that become clear? Tat japa, tat artha bhavanam. That is 128. It says this. It says that. How do you get that? By a japa. Somebody mentioned, right? Kavita, somebody mentioned about japa, right? That is about.
Yeah.
You have to do japa. Japa is, again, please understand, japa is, you should not be born by activity. Therefore, japa is not the end by itself, it's a means. By repetition of this pranama japa, that om japa, mind becomes restricted, mind becomes calmer, the senses get withdrawn, and therefore things become clearer, clearer. Tad japa, tadartha bhavanam. When you do the japa on om, tadartham bhavanam, that becomes that clearer and clearer. Yeah. Think about it. We will probably stop for today. Think about it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Any comment, any summarization from all of you? Then we can stop. It's already 1.5 hours. Mary, try again. Okay. We are not lucky to hear her today. Not a problem. Okay, Kavita, your summarization, please.
My summarization, I have tried to do the pranayamas and all in yoga before, but from last many years, nothing like except japa, I couldn't concentrate and focus. So that has helped me to do like calm, like japas and calming myself down, and fastings are also helping in focusing, or what do you call, like remembering things. Otherwise everything I was like everything was falling apart, like. But with this today's session about many things, like what you said about balancing so many things, I think I should try to sit in one place and meditate, try that once again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good luck. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, that focus is very important. So, yeah, we get so distracted and pulling everything together. And whether you're sitting, as you said, like we could be meditating while working, uh, focusing on certain things, whether it is slowly it develops. It could be intentional in the beginning, and slowly it becomes like unintentionally back of our mind we keep doing stuff. So that is how that focus has to be there in the beginning, and it develops into a habit, and I think we can definitely continue to do that unknowingly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Mirel?
I would like to really thank you for today for all of this teaching. It's all this Yoga Sutra. It's like a beautiful, when someone makes a beautiful necklace and these very precious stones or, just goes one after the other, and then builds on each other and explains everything. And just this week, I had a major breakthrough in my mind that I was always waiting, to be somehow deep down to be saved um, by different kind of teachers. And I recognize that of course it's part of it, but we have to have a teacher like you, Mr. Rao. But all of those I was running after kung fu teachers to become like, teach me this and teach me that. And I recognize that it's basically, on a deep level, that it really, really is up to me. How can I advance with my own practice? So I just dropped everything this week and I just made up my mind that I'm just going to practice, and whatever happens, I let it be okay. And the only thing I really have to do is just to show up for myself every day. And that's it. It was a very painful period for me before because I wanted to be the kung fu and things like this. So I suffered so much to find a real kung fu master who would take me as a disciple. I wanted to become a disciple of a kung fu master. And of course, no one did take me. And I would have just cleaned the bathrooms or do anything for it, hang upside down for the wall, whatever you want. Um, but I just said, like, okay, if no one wants me, I have to want myself. So this week, finally, I said, okay, I'm just going to practice, and I don't care what happens. Whatever happens, it just happens.
Okay, good. Um, so I mean, yeah. These things happen by themselves, and they got their own life. I would say, the trajectory takes you here, there, etc. And the most important point I want to mention here as my closing remark, of course, I'll give Mary one more last chance before I sign off, is that let us not forget this principle that um, um, tatra niratashayam sarvagya bijam. Never forget that. That means that Ishvara Tattva is the seed of the original seed of all knowledge. That means I am not telling you anything. Please understand. And don't keep on saying thank you, Mr. Rao. I am not. This body is being used by Ishvara to say a few things so that you think you learn from this. So it is not me. If you ever start thinking that I am teaching you, or if you start thinking that I am teaching you, it's a mistake. That means we are not learning anything from Patanjali Yoga Sutras. We all have to understand very clearly that the Ishvara Tattva, which is presented as Tasya Vachaka Pranamaha, is the only symbol. That's best you can explain. Om is the only symbol. Therefore, that is flowing through for whatever reason. I have no idea, and I am not interested in knowing why. For whatever reason, all of you are sitting in front of me, and these words are flowing through me, not mine. These words are not mine. These ideas are not mine. These knowledge are not mine. This body is being used by Ishvara to convey these things because this is the world in which the body is only means in its interaction. That is very important principle. Very important principle that we have to understand because that is what is being taught here. That Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. Om is the symbol of that Ishvara. And the advantage of this kind of Ishvara is this. This is probably not an intent of this sutra, but I'm just saying that this is because we are from different types of backgrounds. The idea of this kind of Ishvara is that it cuts across all religious beliefs. It is religious neutral. Not only is religious neutral, it is valid even for atheists who don't believe in a God. Because this is not positioning a God like what any religion would position God as. In other words, Patanjali has tried to create a system which is applicable for anybody, anywhere, anytime. That's the idea. That's these are interests. That's why he's carefully trying to position. At the same time, logically speaking, like you rightly questioned, we don't feel like ourselves being like God. No, we don't have that ability. So how can even accept that kind of an idea? Therefore, he understands all these objections. Therefore, he positions that if you want to believe in an entity which is transcending all those things, that has to be because when we see around 8.5 billion people and everybody has got the same problem, similar problem, then none of us could be that. Therefore, there has to be an entity which is transcending all those things. At the same time, Patanjali does not want to dash your optimism by saying you're condemned to be like this. You're now not going to go up at all. Then what's the point? Life becomes a misery. So he's trying to teach us technique in which whether you can become an Ishvara could be a moot point, disagreeable point, but you could become an Ishvara like
Yes.
not in all universe put together, but you could be Ishvara of your universe because all the joy, all the sorrow is really speaking your creation. The joy and sorrow which you feel is your creation. It is not anybody else's creation, honestly speaking. Like, for example, like we said, no, in the beginning, that our 20s and 25s, it was very important that when you go to your friend circle, social party, or somebody should respect us, give us importance, right? And 40 and 50, you don't care anymore, right? That means, what was the necessity to feel offended that somebody didn't talk to you properly? Not necessary. You allowed another person to offend you. They are not offending. That means your dissatisfaction, your sorrow was your creation. Or when somebody gave you prominence and put you in the front seat in a social function, then you feel very proud and happy. Again, you made it that way. It doesn't matter. You do not change whether you sit in the front row or the last row. You attach a significance to sitting in the front row, therefore you feel happy. And because you attach significance sitting in the front row, when you're given the last row, you felt unhappy. That means row doesn't count. The value which you give counts. In other words, for you as an individual, you have your own universe that was created by you, that is sustained by you, and you are the one who can destroy it and become totally independent of it. That means for your universe, you are the Ishvara. In other words, you may not become the Ishvara of the entire universe, you become Ishvara like in your respective universe. That is the answer.
My English is very poor, Master Rao. That's why I cannot explain myself sometimes. But yes, that's what I meant, Ishvara like or any kind of other.
Sure, absolutely. I'm trying to say several different ways because we are different people and therefore each one of us understand things differently. So I'm trying to arrange words in different ways so that it appeals to all of us, right? But ultimately, I'm sure all of us get what I'm trying to say. All right, Mary, we'll give you one last chance to pray again, or else we'll close for the day. No. All right, then. So thank you very much. Next Sunday is the Vedanta session, not the Patanjali Yoga session. So all of you are welcome to all sessions, depending upon your schedule. Namaste and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.